All right, welcome to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer. So I'm going to jump straight forward to the section 4 here and how to conduct the proper research and gather quality data. A quick recap, well, first identify is the most valuable to least valuable data. First party data, data that come from the company. Usually you have to sign an NDA agreement for that. Then you have is the second party data, data that come from trust sources, like they have a great record of research report, peer review, and ultimately the third party data, the least valuable data, because you can verify the author or the source where this data come from. And especially for new industry, okay, or for closed industry, when it comes to exchange data, you might need to rely on this. And then I look at, well, from a broad perspective, how to conduct a research by first looking at things from different perspectives, because things are not always black or white. Second, gather relevant data to your research. Sorry. And then take notes and keep records of every source you obtain. So ultimately, you qualify the data, then circle back with the client or circle back with yourself. Depend on from who you are conducting this research. If that is for you or for someone else, perhaps a client. So based on that, right, then I look at guidelines that Paul Mendes actually do, especially as a marketing consultant, when he look at a particular website and wants to conduct a research based on that client, right? By first look at their websites or social media to understand what they offer, the pricings, and all the products and service, and then go into the specifics like what are the categories, the company's rating, because all of it you're gonna use that when you conduct a research. So once you gather all of this information, okay, and as well as the first party data to see what they have done in the past, how they have been performing, and how you can provide your suggestions based on that. So combine all of this to now do a competitor analysis. And this is to figuring out who the other players in that industry are by see what they're doing, see also what you can learn from them, and perform a keyword research that you're going to use, for example, tools or keyword tools out there from Google or any other company to understand and to have a better idea of what's going on in that industry. And on top of that, then you're going to look at the worst data, up to date data, to get real feedback from the world, from the world's news, and ultimately ask yourself everything that I have researched by looking at their website, understand the genetics and their specifics. If you can have access to the first party data, great. So you can now see how they have been performance and how they have and what they have done in the past. So you can uh, provide your suggestions. So once you combine that and do these comparative analysis to understand who the other players are in that industry by making a keyword research based on that, to understand then what's going on in that industry, and ultimately on top of that do a worse new or get up to date data to ask yourself everything that I have researched, what is most likely to work today? And that includes see how this industry is adapting to regulations and where this industry is going. So the TLDR for this is first you begin, especially if you're conducting research for a particular company, okay? First look at their website or their social media accounts, understand what they're offering, their products and service, as well as the specific company reviews, how much they charge. If you can have access to the first party data, that's great. If it's not, then you move to the competitor analysis to understand uh, who the other players in that industry are by see what they're doing, see what you can learn from them, perform a keyword research to understand what's going on in that industry using keyword tools like from Google or any other. Uh, and then on top of that, you're gonna get up to date data from the worst news uh, to ask yourself, well, so everything that I have researched, what is most likely to work today? Looking at how this industry is adapting to regulations and where this industry is going. So that's great. And then I look a particularly, or I conduct a particularly e-commerce research, okay, to understand what it is by looking at the Amazon definition, which is the trade of goods and assets over the internet. So it is your bustling city center or your brick and mortar shop converts into zeros and one on the super high on the internet superhighway. And well, e- Shopify mentioned that yes, uh, yeah, Shopify mentioned that while e-business refers to all aspects of operating an online business, the specific activity of an online business, according to Investopedia, are marketing, that they are responsible to conduct research, develop marketing strategies, create ads campaigns, managing social networks, sales, identify potential sale leads or clients, sales calls or video presentations, negotiate a contract, and ultimately close deals. Financing, like record every financial transactions, create financial reports, keep up to date your taxes, among other things. Operations, like improving existing production process, okay, improving existing production process, uh, check the quality standards, develop or implement new pro- production process, human research that are responsible to hiring and recruiting and talent, administrating benefits and payrolls, as well as providing, allegedly, but providing is technical capacitations and to employees, as well as solve employee issues. The IT sectors, which is responsible for creating IT or computer networks, develop and implement software systems, provide customer support, as well as ensure data security. And then we have customer support, which the address customer inquires, manage and handle merchandise returns or customer complaints, provide technical support, and check for customer satisfactions, and ultimately the R&D, which is research and development, which are responsible for develop new prototype or improve existing products, create patents. So all of these specific business activities to operate an online business, okay, e-commerce refers specifically to the trade of good and service over the internet, according to Shopify. So with that understanding, then I look at the different actors involved. So whether it's government, consumers, and the business, and how they relate each other. So you have first the most widely common use case, the business to consumers, such as online retails like Amazon, Costco, Walmart, subscription service like Netflix or Spotify, digital marketplace like Etsy or eBay, ordering food and delivery service like Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, as well as traveling, online traveling and booking like Booking.com, Airbnb, Airbnb, Expedia.com. For the business to business, now we have is online marketplace such as Alibaba, Amazon Business, eBay Business, uh, EDI, this electronic data interchange, traditional paperwork that were made on paper like payrolls, invoice. Now it is done electronically through this EDI. For example, IBM provide a solution within the company or across companies. Online portals. So, for example, very large business that needs to streamline their supply chains or procurement, all procuremental, or procuremental process. They set an online portal to make that happen. So you have SAP Ariba Network or Walmart supplier centers. Wholesale e-commerce like Uline or Grainger, where now these manufacturers and distributors sell directly to business, as well as business to business payment solutions like PayPal or Stripe. Also, I look at the relationship between the consumer to business, such as freelance work in platforms like PayPal, Freelancer, Upwork, Fiverr, online serving like SurveyMonkey, user-generated content. So now consumers can sell their digital content to companies such as image, video, or audio in place like Shutterstock, uh, in place like Shutterstock, um, in place like Shutterstock, uh, mhm, yeah. So in place like Shutterstock, Audio Jungle, and also on reverse auction or this um, place where now business or consumers can submit their price quota for products that business offer, right? In a reverse auction. Then I also look at the relationship now with the government, the most common use case, the government to business, such as public procurement portals, where now government business or agencies set an online portals to streamline and allow business to bid on government contracts like FBO, the Federal Business Opportunity, the in the US, or the UK Contract Finder Service on the uh, on uh, the UK. The permit and licensing, such as food licensing or permit or building permit, tax payment and filing system, such as the electronic federal tax payment systems issue or from the US, or the UK HM custom and revenues. The company registration, okay, such as the SBA, the Small Business Administration, or the UK Company House, and international trades and custom clearance, such as export declarations or such as export declaration or mhm, such as export declarations or what's the other name? Electronic custom clearance, right? And then from the government to consumers, so they provide things like the tax payment portals or driving and vehicle licensing, passport applications. So, for example, in the U.S. is the U.S. State of Department, the U.S. Department of State Passport Service, uh, or ordering birth and death certificates, like in the US, the National Center for Health Statistics, which is a very, very interesting website. It is this National Center for Health Statistics is this. They show they show us how healthy is the U.S. citizens, right? Health insurance cover estimate from 2022 National Health Interview Survey. The percentage of adults aged 18 to 64 without health insurance continued to drop in 2022. Okay. 12% of 30 millions we're talking about is like 3 million of people are outside of this health insurance. American Indians and Alaska Native adults were more likely to have been diagnosed with diabetes if they live on tribal land. If they live on tribal land, statistic. It's like, again, this is something that when you are conducting a research, Paul Menders, the Zero to Mastery Structure, mentioned that data is incredibly powerful because it can help you to inform, persuade, reinforce your point of view, but also can be misleading. In any way, uh, rates of overdose death involved fentanyl more than triple from 2016 to 29. Holy fuck. You guys are consuming cocaine or this new derivative of cocaine, fentanyl. Fentanyl is a highly potent synthetic opioid disease. It's a power synthetic opioid that is similar to morphine but is 50 to 100 times more potent. Jesus. It is a prescription drug that is also made and used illegally. Like morphine, it is a medicine that is typically used to treat patients with severe pain, especially after surgery. It is also sometimes used to treat patients with chronic pain who are physically tolerant to other opioids. Tolerance occurs when you need a higher and or more frequent amount of drugs to get the desired effects. But in any case, fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid that is similar to morphine but is 50 to 100 times more potent, according to National Institute of Drug Abuse. Jesus. Trust me, I fell from a very potent drug, which is gaming, and I don't want to fail this. No, no, no. It's like, oh my God, it's like, no, 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 no. I'm very careful there, but okay. Thanks for this, right? Thanks for this. The rate of overdose death involved fentanyl more than tripled from 2016 to 2021. 2016, 2016. It's more easy to say that. Vital statistic rapid release estimate of drug overdose death involving fentanyl, meta, meta, methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and oxycodone. United States 2021. Okay, this is the abstract. Among those aged 25 to 64, the highest rate of drug overdose death involved fentanyl. Oxycodone. So oxycodone. Now people are not consuming oxycodone, but now is consuming it. It's a strong semi-synthetic opioid used medically for treatment of to moderate to severe pain. It is highly addictive and commonly abused drug. Oxycodone. Oh my God. Oxycodone, and now they scale to fentanyl, which is a powerful synthetic opioid similar to morphine, but it's 50 to 100 times more potent, according to the National Institute for Drug Abuse. The NIDA. How do you say this? Translate here. NIDA. How do you say? NIDA. Please.
NIDA.
NIDA. That's right. NIDA. NIDA. The National Institute for Drug Abuse. NIDA. Or NIDA in Spanish. NIDA. National Institute on Drug Abuse. Oh my God. It's like, oh my God. When prescribed by a doctor, fentanyl can be given as a shot, a patch that is put on the person's skin, or a long ski that are sucked like cup throats. The illegally used fentanyl most often associated with recent overdose inmates is made in lab. This is synthetic fentanyl is sold illegally as a powder. Drop onto bottle, drop onto blotter paper, but in the eye dropper and nasal spray. Holy fuck. Drop it onto blotter paper, put in the eye dropper or nasal spray. Jesus. Of course, is to just that it goes direct, that it goes through, that just hits straight forward to your system. Jesus. Put in or made into pills that look like other prescription opioids. Some drug dealers are mixing fentanyl with other drugs, such as heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, and MDMA. Nah, oh my God, no, man. Some drug dealers are mixing fentanyl with other drugs, such as heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, and MDMA. NDMA. This is because it takes very little to produce a high with fentanyl, making it a cheaper option. This is especially risky when people taking drugs don't realize they might contain fentanyl as a cheap but dangerous additive. dangerous additive. They might be taking strong opioids that their body are used to and can be more likely to overdose. Although fentanyl affect the brain, extreme happiness, drowsiness, nausea, confusion, constipation, sedation, problems breathing. Oh my God. Can you overdose on fentanyl? It's a condition called hypoxia. Okay, problems breathing. How can a fentanyl overdose be treated? Okay, okay. Oh my God. Neither. National Institute Drug Administration. Damn, son. Methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and oxycodone. United States 2021. Jesus fucking. Anyway, anyway. Okay, and this is one of the great thing of by doing a research in All Star with an e-commerce. Okay, it all started with an e-commerce. By doing this research, and now I understand is what is an e-commerce. What are the actors involved in an e-commerce? Business, government, and consumers, and how they interact each other. Business to consumers, business to business, consumer to business, government to business, now government to consumers, okay? And also consumers to government, such as online petitions or online donations, uh, payment of fines and fees, like traffic tickets or traffic fines or parking tickets. And okay, and also, and then I look at the other players in that industry, right? So you have Amazon, Alibaba, Etsy, Shopify, Costco, IKEA. So the whole point of this is to broaden my perspective a little bit more on that, and then once you conduct your research, so how you put that in a visually engaging presentation for your client, in this case for myself, is well by know what you are research and what you're gonna. So before making a report, know what you're gonna put in there. So what is the data that you need to collect to create that report? Okay. Second, put the most relevant data first because you don't want the client start to forget what the most important thing was. In fact, uh, by presenting the most impactful data to lay out the ground and then expanding on uh, statistics and different aesthetics, okay, creating a template especially for recurring clients and ultimately use graph and statistic. The whole point of this is to tell the client how you reach to that conclusion by showing the meaningful pattern with the statistics and charts, and ultimately reach to an agreement to implement your solution with the client. Okay, so that's the TLDR of doing this. Okay, makes sense because there's different graphs that we can use to illustrate or depend on the use case. So, for example, we have bar charts when you want to show change over time or compare different categories. Pie charts to compare part to a whole comparisons with continuous or discrete data. This is more impactful for small data sets. Okay, area charts, or in this case, first line graph, when you want to see time series relationship for things like trending, acceleration, decelerations, volatility. Okay, uh, area charge when you want to see again time series relationship, but now with three variables that it can be in that graph. You can now show volume, scatter plot to now see the correlation of data. Again, correlation doesn't mean causality. That's a whole new video. But in this case, is with scatter plot, we can, for example, uh, illustrate with a two set of variables. Uh, in the x-axis, time to response, and in the g-axis, uh, customer satisfaction. Okay, you can see is the correlation of that data. We also have is bubble chart, which is a combo mix between the scatter plot and the area chart. Again, this is more impactful to show ranking data or nominal data, where now you can represent three variables. For example, time spent on the internet, age, and gender. Okay, in each of those bubbles. Uh, I also look at the heat maps, which are great to compare categorical data, data that can be grouped in different groups or category classes, right? Whether it's nominal, that they have an inherent order, so, where they don't have an inherent order, is nominal data, such as color of your eye, fruit, card, ethnicity, marital status, and ordinal data, data that has an inherent order, such as job seniority, entry level, junior, senior, C executive, job salary bracket, health, very poor, fair, good, very good, excellent, rating, 1 star to 5 star. So these heat maps are great for showing this categorical data with intensity of colors that represents the data and can be used on geographical maps or data tables. So the most widely common use cases, for example, when you want to see is the uh, number of or the ethnicity. Yeah, the most predominant ethnicity people according or based on different states, right? Uh, and then I also look at the tables, which are great for compares for compare. For example, uh, sales representatives or where blocks view are coming from geographical or geomap to illustrate distribution of data on a geographical location. So, for example, show the amount of retail that a particular brand has over a, a state, right, or a city. Waterfall, which are mesh. This is a way to measure its progress over time, as well as pictograms, which are great to show statistic with icons. So for example, from clean water, which is here, so clean water here, cleanwater.org. They show is a particular pictogram where they say 1 of 9 people on Earth doesn't have access to 9 of 1 people on Earth don't have access to clean water. Yep, to clean water. All right. So now that I know that, okay, so how to conduct a research and then how to create reports that visually engage your customers, where you illustrate how you reach to the conclusion based on the statistics and illustrate the different meaningful patterns that makes you reach to that conclusion and ultimately reach to an agreement based on that to implement your solution. So it is something like that. Okay, so once I make that huge overview, which is very, very important, especially as a learning process, then now I look at the data visualizations here, especially the do's and don'ts, right? So the do's is that show organized data, compare data to benchmark, and make it readable as much as possible. Okay. The TL of this, when you're making this visualization, is to have an organized format, compared to benchmark, and make it readable as much as possible. So use in the don'ts is like don't use outdated data, don't lose your data after you present that. Okay, after all, that's part of the keep track every interaction, every activity that you have with your client. Okay, and forget to use precise numbers. Okay, and ultimately, follow is a consultation presentation checklist once you conduct or once you are going to create a report, right? So research complete, report slide, source check, call script ready, practice out loud, confirm presentation time, send calendar invite with Google Meet link, closing prepare, determine next steps, prepare for 30 minutes before, have all additional links ready. Okay. And then, so once you know how to conduct a research and then create visually engaging presentations, also following is the do's and don'ts. When you're creating is this visualization, the do's is, well, have an organized format. You can rely on tools to leverage your report like Canva, for example, as well as other links out there like Statista to make your report more robust. And following is the do's of uh, yeah, following is the do's, these do's, as have an organized format. Okay, so have a organized format. Uh, yeah, have an organized format. Okay, have an organized format. Compare data to benchmarks and make it real as possible. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so have an organized format, compare data to benchmark, uh, data to benchmark and make the data readable as possible. And the don't is, well, don't use outdated data. Don't lose your data or your presentations after, or let's say you do that. So don't lose your data after you present it, and forget to use precise numbers. So following is the consultation presentation checklist. Then I look at the communication tips for consulting, especially when you're gonna talk complex topics, or when the people you're presenting your report doesn't have a background of these topics. So make sure that, when you're using an industry jargon, breaking down and they you break it down in an easier and digestible way that anyone can understand. So break down complex topics. The other is that show that you understand the goal and avoid miscommunication. So always speak with the truth. Okay. So learn the client's communication habits and work habits. Something important because each client is different. So some clients like email, some like calls or do video calls, and they have different time zones or work schedules, right? So the whole point of this, all right, is that then you're gonna decide, you're gonna choose which client you would like to work, right? And especially, yeah, which client you would like to work. You know, which client would you like to work? And mhm. So which client would you like to work? And especially I want to work with clients that they show their face. So any client that they don't do that, I don't want to work with them. It's like it shows that you're not professional. And in my case, I am. All right. So we got is this, right? So some clients like emails, some like calls or do video calls. They have different time zones or work schedule. Keep track everything that you communicate with the client using Hotspot or CRM. Be a team player. Again, this is all of communication tips. Break down complex topics. Understand the goal. Make sure that you understand the goal. Avoid miscommunication. Speak with the truth. Understand their communication work habits and yeah, the communications and work habits. Okay, because each client has a different way of conduct that. Some clients like emails or some clients like video calls, right? They keep track of everything that you communicate, being a team player, and send brief updates. A quick status update goes a long way, right? Like this. So once I look at these communication tips, okay, nope, it's not you. It's in fact is this. All right. So once I look this, okay, uh, this is the exercise imposter syndrome, which the TLDR is that you don't feel good enough to perform
And head on
something.
over to our Discord. Now, in our Discord server, if you've used it up until now, that's great. If you haven't, head on over to this server, and I want you to do something.
Anyway, here we're looking at how to use A/B testing as a consultant.
In this lesson, we will be going over A-B testing for consultants. A-B testing is also known as split testing and is a great way for you to help build recurring consulting clients. A/B testing consists of two different things. The first is the control. We'll call that A. So the A is the unaltered original version of whatever you are testing. So in any experiment, you need to keep a version of the original element that you're testing. So when you're conducting an A to B test, you set up the unaltered version as your control. So let's say it's a landing page that you're using. That would be the current landing page that the client is using. And then let's get to the next thing that you're testing, which is the treatment. So the control versus the treatment. The control is the original, and now the treatment is the optimized version, which you expect to possibly perform better. So let's say it is a landing page. That can be you changing one minor aspect to that landing page, and then that would be your treatment. So remember, in any A/B test, you have the control, the original, and now the treatment is the optimized version, which you expect to possibly perform better. So let's say it is a landing page. That can be you changing one minor aspect to that landing page, and then that would be your treatment. So remember, in any A/B test, you have the control, and then you have the treatment, and from there you can build different variations and different treatments down the line, but you always want to keep it an A to B test. Now let's get into some best practices for A/B tests. First, you want to do one test at a time. So let's say you have a new offer that's coming out that's going to be promoted via an email link to a landing page. You might decide to test the audience segment you're sending the offer to, and you may also be interested in testing which landing page improves conversions. However, if you conducted both of those tests at the same time, you're actually going to be just muddling up the results. How would you know which change actually impacted that conversion rate? Maybe it was the audience, or maybe it was the image, or maybe it was both. But if you just test one hypothesis at a time, you'll have results that will lead to stronger conclusions. So remember to always test one test at a time. After that, remember to test one variable at a time. That's another best practice, because in order to evaluate how effective an element is on a landing page, for example, or how effective an email campaign is, or how effective anything is that you're testing as a consultant, you only want to test one variable at a time so you can pinpoint exactly what actually caused that change. And if you test multiple variables at the same time, once again, it's going to muddle your results, and you're not going to know exactly how to impact any change because you don't know what caused that change. Next, only make minor changes. Although it's reasonable to think that a big, sweeping change across whatever you're testing can help you understand which one is going to win the test, remember that oftentimes it's in the small details. So while you're creating your test, remember that even a small, simple change, like let's say switching the color of something or switching the wording of something, can drive big improvements or big changes. So make sure when you're doing your A/B test, you're keeping it to minor changes. Next, in order to achieve conclusive results, you need to test with 2 or more audiences that are of equal size. So split the audience 50-50 and split it randomly. This will make sure that your test results are actually accurate and that the same amount of people are going to be going through the test. So let's say it's that landing page example. You're going to want to run 50% of the traffic to one landing page and 50% through the other. Let's say you do that for a certain amount of page views. That's the data set that you want to look at. That way, you make sure you can get very clean results based on exactly what the A to B test was set up to do. Next, make sure to test simultaneously. So timing plays a significant role in your consulting A/B test because it all depends on when you are running those tests. So if you're doing an A/B test and you're not running them simultaneously, you may be getting skewed data. So let's say you test something on Monday through Wednesday, and then you test the next thing after that. That's not going to be accurate because maybe people react differently Monday through Wednesday than they would the rest of the week. However, if you run those tests simultaneously for the same period of time, that will get you the best results and the most accurate results because once again, you're not going to be adding another variable to it, which would be the day of the week. You're going to be running them at the same time. So if you are running a campaign and you're trying to test 2 different landing pages as a consultant, what you can do is make sure that you're splitting that traffic up 50-50, and a lot of website servers have the ability to do that. There's also A/B testing tools that help you do that. In that way, once again, you get the most accurate data. Lastly, you want to decide on a significance level before testing. So this may sound confusing, but don't get too discouraged because it's actually pretty simple. All you're doing is thinking about what level of significance, what level of statistical significance that you want to set before you set up the test and before you run that test. So 95% to 99% is usually a good percentage to aim for. And if you don't remember what you took in your statistics class, don't worry because we have a tool to help you. Now, this is a free tool on the Neil Patel website. He puts out a lot of content on different things in the digital marketing realm and SEO, but he has a great A/B testing significance calculator that you can use to calculate the results of your A/B test to ensure accurate stats. All you do is put in, for example, the number of visitors to one page and the number of overall conversions on that each variation, and that's going to spit out a percentage for you. That is going to be very helpful because once again, you can report back to the client with a specific statistic of how significant your test was, and that will help them understand how accurate the report is that you set up. As you're going about conducting these A/B tests, remember that it's also not just a single thing. It's something that you're actually going to be doing over time and that you're going to be measuring over time. So you may conduct an A/B test but not find a statistically significant result. That actually doesn't mean that your A/B test has failed. That just means you need to figure out a new iteration for your next test, a different way to measure it, a different variable to test. Or you can test the same variable again with a different variation. So let's say it's the landing page and you change the colors of it. Maybe you leave the colors the same now, but you change the copy, the copywriting, the wording on the page. And that actually can be something that can have a huge impact. So remember that this isn't just something you do one time. This is something that you want to keep up as long as you keep working towards improvements. As long as you're going in the right direction, you're testing things out. If something isn't a clear winner, that doesn't mean it's a failed test. That just means that you have more things to learn and more things that you can test moving forward. And lastly, remember that the main goal with A/B testing is to deliver the best value, and it's also to be able to secure longer-term consulting clients. Because instead of just doing an initial audit, as a business consultant, you're helping implement and run A/B tests on an ongoing basis. The client will be likely to keep you on the team, keep paying you as a freelance consultant and as a business consultant, because they're going to be interested in your findings and your suggestions based on all of the tests that you set up. So as you see right here, it is a cycle. It's not just a linear line that has a start and finish. It is a cycle where you're planning, you're doing, you're checking, and then you're acting. So you're planning the test out, you're conducting the test, you're checking the results, and then you're acting based on your findings. That is going to help you be a high-paid consultant and secure multiple recurring consulting clients. I look forward to seeing you in the next section.
All right, so that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye-bye.